So initially, when I had actually semi-retired from the school, I was having problems with I guess at that point I was having problems with my arms. And Tim and I were getting ready to go on vacation, and he looked at my chest and he goes, wow, one of your bones is sticking up further than the other. And I kind of got to looking. It's not something, I kind of get in the mirror and kind of like look and see like where I'm at. And he goes, oh, you're really like swollen, and you need to immediately go to the doctor before we go on vacation. I'm like, okay. So I made a doctor's appointment, went in, and the doctor said, well, I'm not really sure, maybe it's your thyroid, maybe you have a growth or something underneath there. We need to send you for a full chest x-ray. So I said, okay, let's go ahead and do the chest x-ray. That's what they said I needed. Let's just do it. So I did it, and then, I don't know, maybe I went in a week later or something, and they said, oh yeah, the x-ray showed nothing. Said, okay. So they said, well, the next thing we need to do is we need to do an MRI. Did the MRI, and when it was all done, he kind of showed me, this shows inflammation, this shows, basically he could show me that I had inflammation, and that was all. He said, I'm not the doctor, I can't really tell you this, but here we have these different colors, and this indicates this. And so I went back into the doctor, and they said, well, really, this is inconclusive. We know you have inflammation. And at this point now, I'm sure I'm stressed, so they have me on anti-inflammatories. I am now on a second blood pressure medicine, and for years I've been on one blood pressure medicine. And so I went to the orthopedic doctor, and I walk in, and he's got this little laptop, and he says, I've looked at all your charts, I've looked at everything. He kind of looks at me and he says, you have arthritis. And I said, oh. And at this point, I can't move my arms hardly. I'm stiff in the neck. And he goes, yeah, that's your symptoms. And I said, okay. And he said, so do you want an anti-inflammatory? I said, well, they've already given me one. And that was the end. I wasn't there. I didn't need more treatment. I didn't need anything. This was just your diagnosis, and this is kind of what you have. So I went home, and I don't know, couple of weeks or something.
At least.
And I thought, I don't have arthritis. And a lady that I'd work with, Stephanie Garber, she thinks Dr. Hanes is wonderful. And so I thought, I'm going to go to him. I honestly don't think that I have arthritis, and I think that there are other things going on, and I want to get to what that is, what the root of that is. I didn't walk in with, I guess I had hope. Would be the expectation, to hope that there was something, because I basically had just been told that this is the way your life is. And honestly, I was having heart problems sleeping. I sleep either on my side or my stomach, and now I had to resort to sleeping on my back because it would hurt my arms. They're just that my lifestyle had changed so much. So I didn't have any expectation that I was going to, in a year be able to be back to my normal self. But, I couldn't swim. I like to swim. All the things that I typically had done all my life, all of a sudden I wasn't doing. And so I didn't have any expectation that I was going to, be able to do all of those things. But I had hope that somehow I was going to figure out how to maybe make changes or, some alternatives. Initially, when I came in, we found that in my gut I had candida yeast, and with that I needed to change my diet. I needed to reduce that yeast, and most of us have candida yeast, or we have a buildup of candida yeast. A little bit later we got blood tests to see where exactly we were at, and what kind of markers are in our blood, and then what does that indicate. I had high inflammation. I was on 2 blood pressure medicines, so I now am on 1. I also, quit taking anything for inflammation. Then it was kind of interesting. So I have to go in annually to renew my blood pressure medicine. And so they said, oh, we need, it's been a year, a couple years or something. We need to take your blood. And I said, oh, I just got my blood taken. And so the blood test that they take with the medical doctor, I don't know, it almost reminds me of a check the box kind of thing. Oh, here's her blood, she's got this, it's these kind of levels. It kind of reminds me of the check the box. And then, so I had the blood test from here given to the medical doctor so that I could get my blood pressure medicine renewed. And it's much more thorough. It's very in-depth, and it's not a check the box. And maybe some boxes with the medical doctor, they would say, she's fine, you know, or within range, you know, so there's this range. She's within range, she's within range. Well, Dr. Hanes would say, yeah, not really within range. You're kind of, they would say that, but really you need to, maybe it's my vitamin D, or maybe it's, you know, everybody tends to be low on vitamin D, and maybe they would say I'm within the range of vitamin D, and he'd go, yeah, look at this, you know, really, if we start looking at this and how integral that vitamin D is in our systems, you know, really you need to be monitoring that. Well, when I gave that to the medical doctor, it was maybe 2 days later, they immediately start calling me. You need to get a hold of us immediately. You need to get a hold of us immediately. So I call them, and I won't get this right, but my body doesn't methylate my vitamin B. And so they said, we need to make sure that you're doing something about that vitamin B. And we noticed in your lab tests, this is important. And I said, oh yes, we are already on it. I'm already doing that. Because immediately when Dr. Hanes had seen that, he said, this is what we need to be doing. But I thought it was interesting. Had I never had that test taken here, my medical doctor would have never known that. I've had, you know, blood tests taken with the medical doctor, and I'm sure this isn't something that overnight just changed. So that was, I guess, another validation for me that I'm doing what I need to do in order to be as healthy as I can. I tend to think that the medical doctors will look at my knee, or they'll look at my arm, or they looked at my inflammation. So they didn't look at me as a whole and say what is causing this. They just looked at the inflammation. They said, here's an anti-inflammation pill. So they didn't look at the causes. They only looked at the symptoms. So lots of times when you come in here, you're so used to somebody just looking at your knee or just looking at your inflammation that you don't really think, my eyes are dry, oh, that's a sign of inflammation. Well, I don't know that. I have my inflammations right here. Why are you asking about my eyes? You know, I mean, it just, sometimes you don't know how to connect the dots because you don't have any reference points. You've only ever been to a doctor that's only looked at that particular symptom. So that's when I started going, and it was just about a year ago. And I couldn't move my arms. Several visits. We worked on my arm movement. We did, he adjusted me. We worked on my arms. We did laser.
Diet.
And changed diet. And I look at it as more a holistic approach, kind of looking at the whole body, looking at all your systems, making sure they all work together, looking at where in your body that you can make improvements, and how do you make those improvements. Typically, by the time you come to a doctor, it's taken a long time to get there. My arms didn't just happen overnight. It was a process, so it took a long time to get there, and I didn't really realize what was happening. Your body has to relearn how to be back to its normal, you know, because for your body then, when my arms were frozen, that was my body's normal. So now my body has to relearn how to be back to a normal. So to share anything with anybody coming in initially, I would say have an open mind.